Hi, neighbor. Anna here. How many blank do you have is a question that can stimulate and trigger discomfort and anxiety for people. How many children do you have? How many grandchildren do you have? How many siblings do you have? For those of us who have lost a loved one, that can trigger, like, how do we answer that question without making other people uncomfortable, without making ourselves uncomfortable? This is something that I experienced after Gavin's death. And people would say, "Oh, how many children do you have?" And at first, it was zero because I struggled with what kind of mother has no child. As many of you know, Gavin was my firstborn. And then as I began to have successful pregnancies and bring children to Earthside, I struggled with, do I include him or don't I? Because I had had the experience many times over of sharing that I have a child who died, and I could see the instant panic and people pulling away because it was a reminder for them of how fragile life really is. And, quite often we look at, oh, these sorts of things happen to someone else and other families until we actually are face to face with it ourselves. And so for me, it was a process. And for many people that I've worked with over the last 30 years, it's been a similar process. At first, as I said, I would say zero, I wouldn't include him. And then I struggled for a while. I would say, well, I have three, but I have a son who died, and then I have two at home. And there was just always this awkward, right, conversation around that. I went through a period then where I would say, I have two children, or when my fourth child was born, I would say, I have three children. I always had just this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach every time I would say that, because the truth was I had four children. One of them, just the relationship with I had them, was far different than anything I'd ever expected. He was not here on the earthly plane. Eventually, what I found is in most situations, especially if I meet someone on the street or in a coffee shop or in the grocery store or in a business meeting and they say, "How many children do you have?" I always say four these days. And if they say, "Oh, where are they or what are they doing?" then I will start with my youngest child and I will where he lives and kind of what he's doing. And then as I move up through the four children, if the person is still engaged and they are still interacting and asking questions, then when I get to Gavin, I will say, my oldest child is in heaven. He died following unexpected delivery complications. That conversation going that way generally tends, yes, there tends to be some pullback in response. I can see a visceral, like, "I'm sorry that happened to you." Sometimes people will verbally speak those words. But what that process has done for me personally is it allows the conversation to move in a more fluid way. And once I get to Gavin, I know that there's a little more intimate and a bonding and a personal conversation with the person that I'm talking with. And quite often, they will then talk about an experience in their life or someone they know or someone who's close to them. So occasionally, depending again on the environment, sometimes I will say, and the environment and the time I have, I will say, well, I have three earthside and one heavenside. And I wish that I could credit the person who I heard a couple of years ago frame it that way. Other situations where I have worked with people or encountered people are grandparents or parents who have someone who is incarcerated, a loved one who is incarcerated, or struggling with addiction or substance abuse. Quite often, people don't know how to navigate that. There are many other, I know, many other situations out there and circumstances for how many blank do you have besides children, grandchildren, and siblings. Share. If you have a how many blank do you have that you have navigated, please drop that in the chat below, because I guarantee you, if you've experienced it, there is someone else who is out there experiencing something very similar and they are wanting to know that they are not alone. If you neighbor or someone you know is struggling and looking for support in navigating your loss, grief, and healing, as many of you know, I'm a coach and I have many programs that I also offer. Please click the link in the bio, go to the website, sign up for my complimentary coaching discussion. We can help you navigate whatever you're going through so you can live your fullest, most vibrant life, even in the face of your adversity. As always, neighbor, I see you, I feel you, and I believe in you.